You finally did it. You pushed through the grueling, unglamorous discipline of structural saving, optimized your personal cash flow, ignored the constant sirens of modern consumerism, and officially crossed the ultimate holy grail of early personal finance, a $100,000 net worth. By every statistical benchmark available in the modern economy, you have achieved an insulation tier that the vast majority of the global population will spend their entire lives chasing. You expect to feel an overwhelming, transformative wave of psychological relief. You expect the late-night financial anxiety sessions that haunted your 20s to completely dissolve into the air. But as you sit at your desk at midnight, staring at the absolute balance sheets on your screen, a cold, deeply disorienting reality sets in. The view from the summit doesn't feel like economic sovereignty at all. Instead, it feels like a highly sophisticated, deceptive new cage. Welcome to the $100,000 net worth limbo, where your financial trajectory transforms from an energetic uphill sprint into a silent, heavily fortified plateau. You are rich on paper, but entirely trapped in your daily existence. My name is Nick, and I deconstruct the hidden structural friction points between mathematical economics and human psychology. If you've reached the point where your financial statements look impressive to your peers, but your daily existence is still entirely tethered to a corporate timecard, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Because the six-figure net worth plateau is the most heavily romanticized, dangerous illusion in the wealth-building journey today. Traditional financial commentary has conditioned us to believe a beautiful lie, that once you accumulate $100,000, compound interest magically takes over the heavy lifting, the momentum becomes automated, and your functional relationship with labor changes forever. Nobody warns you about the severe existential identity crisis that unlocks the moment you realize that crossing this monumental milestone does not change a single mathematical thing about your daily survival requirements. You cannot eat your net worth statement. You cannot use a long-term investment balance to pay for this morning's groceries without actively destroying the very compound engine you spent years building. To break free from this mid-tier suspension, we have to look past the superficial vanity of absolute numbers and analyze the hidden mechanics of the stationary wealth platform. Let's dismantle the raw, unsanitized mathematics that mainstream wealth advisors deliberately obscure from their marketing material. When you achieve a $100,000 net worth, your brain naturally treats that number with massive institutional respect. It sounds heavy, it sounds protective. But let's translate that static pool of capital into its real-world economic velocity. If you allocate that hard-earned $100,000 into a standard, diversified market index or high-yield repository, and apply a disciplined, sustainable safe withdrawal model of 4%, that capital generates roughly $400 a month. Let that sink in for a moment. $400? In the modern economic landscape, $400 a month does not purchase early retirement. It strikes a brutal blow. It barely covers a modern premium utility invoice, a Tier 1 health insurance premium, or a standard, single grocery routine for a highly disciplined household. This is the mathematical uncoupling. Your net worth has officially entered an elite statistical tier, but its physical utility is entirely disconnected from your daily survival. You are technically wealthy on paper, but practically, you are still 100% dependent on your next active corporate paycheck to keep the roof over your head and the lights burning in your space. The structural mechanics of your life haven't shifted an inch. You have simply upgraded the size of the digital mirage you look at when you open your banking application. The structural chasm between paper success and physical vulnerability triggers a dangerous psychological phenomenon, the ambition vacuum. Think back to the phase when your savings account was hovering dangerously around zero, or sitting tentatively at $10,000. Your brain chemistry was dictated by intense, high cortisol survival urgency. You were running away from the edge of absolute catastrophe. That fear was an incredibly efficient, hyper-focused engine that made it simple to say no to short-term gratification because the stakes were immediate survival. You didn't buy the luxury items or sign up for expensive subscriptions because your house was effectively on fire, and your mental bandwidth was entirely consumed by short-term defense. But at $100,000, the edge of catastrophe is miles behind you. You have created a substantial liquid cushion that can easily absorb almost any basic life emergency without breaking a sweat. And while that insulation is an undeniable victory, it silently turns off your primary wealth-building engine, the motivation of panic. Without the evolutionary pressure of financial danger, your habits enter a state of suspension. The obsessive expense tracking slows down, the micro-decisions become casual. Your brain logic tells you that you are safe, so the intense drive that got you to six figures begins to decay. You stop sprinting because you are no longer afraid of falling backward, completely blinding you to the fact that you are standing perfectly still on a middle-class plateau. This phase of financial complacency is precisely the moment where the institutional wealth management machine updates its consumer profile on you. The system is brilliantly engineered to recognize the exact coordinates where a household crosses the six-figure threshold. Suddenly, you are no longer targeted with entry-level budgeting apps or basic high-yield cash repositories. You are systematically funneled into the world of premium-tier financial products, customized asset management advisory, bespoke insurance wrappers, and high-status investment vehicles that are heavily layered with hidden management fees. The industry rebrands your stability as an opportunity to diversify into complex, illiquid instruments that benefit the fund manager's corporate fee structures far more than they accelerate your timeline to absolute independence. They capitalize on your desire to feel like an advanced investor, convincing you to lock up your capital in agreements that actively freeze your financial velocity right at the exact moment your capital needed maximum liquidity and aggressive compounding force to scale to the next true order of magnitude. They turn your active momentum into their permanent passive income, while you remain chained to the corporate desk, holding an institutional gold star but zero fluid leverage. We must acknowledge the difference between phantom stability and true asset velocity. When you look at a household trapped in the $100,000 limbo, everything on the surface looks pristine. There are high-end convenience subscriptions active, mid-tier European vehicles parked in the dedicated slots, and premium texturized finishes on the countertops. But this is nothing more than a visual illusion. These are depreciating lifestyle liabilities, not wealth-generating engines. True economic freedom is never defined by the absolute height of your consumer ceiling or the prestigious logos sitting in your driveway. It is measured exclusively by the breathing room between your fixed, structural liabilities and the fluid generation rate of your liquid investments. The professional earning a modest income who aggressively protects a clear, unencumbered monthly investment margin is structurally moving faster and safer than the six-figure earner running themselves ragged on a corporate hamster wheel just to maintain a stagnant cash balance that supports an identity they cannot afford to abandon. The system wants you to remain static at $100,000 because a professional who is comfortable enough to stop fighting, yet debt-leveraged enough to never quit, is the ultimate captive asset for institutional labor. Breaking out of the six-figure limbo demands an immediate, ruthless re-engineering of your psychological financial metrics. You must stop treating your net worth statement as a final destination or a trophy to be admired inside a static vault. Wealth is asset velocity. It is the tactical transition from simple wealth preservation to aggressive asset compounding. Smash the optical illusion of the six-figure milestone, reject the institutional fee traps designed to freeze your capital, and treat your first $100,000 not as a final marker of success, but as the foundational leverage required to construct your ultimate escape hatch. Stop playing a rigged game designed to value status over real stability. Your future self doesn't care about the temporary comfort of a safe, silent cage, they care about absolute, uncompromised economic mobility.